Z-Boy Z.
Yeah, Z-Boy Z.
I'm Josh.
I'm Nav.
Ranking our cars. Every car that we've owned. Tier list.
Never been done before.
Let's go.
Should we discuss? Okay, well,
Okay, let's.
we got a lot. We got a lot of cars, a few, and we've put them into just like a randomizer, so we don't know which order we're doing them in.
No.
Other than that, let's jump into it.
Let's go. Let's check out number one on the list.
The Volvo.
Volvo XC70.
What year model?
2007. Really good car. Let's find it on this tier list.
That's pretty vague.
So the Volvo I had in A tier, and I thought it was a really, really good car. Like the nicest car to drive. No car compares, which we'll get into on the list. No car compares for comfort and just like nice driving experience. However, I degraded it down because I degraded it down to where it ended up post EMU. So it was an A tier, went down to a B tier. Unfortunately, hit an EMU, and though the car was fine and I drove it for like a year after, the guy that bought it off me was happy with it. Hitting the EMU meant that I couldn't easily fix the aircon, which meant that it's really hot when you drive. It also made it look a little bit rough.
The Volvo, no issues.
No, it was a really good,
Just
reliable
not exciting.
car. Yeah.
Yeah.
I like it.
Yeah, that's brilliant. Let's go, Astra.
Astra number 3, silver hatch. So I've had 3 Astras. Holden Astra, a really average car, I would say, overall. I would put firmly in the C tier.
Wasn't this the worst of the 3 that you've owned?
So this one was, we paid $2,000 for it. The day that when I picked it up, the guy like reversed over the curb and broke the side skirt. From the get-go, it was cosmetically damaged.
Had you already paid for it?
No.
Did he knock anything off the price?
Like $200.
Okay, that still sucks.
This car was hot, no aircon. It did work. It had a Paul Walker sticker on the back. Dude, I almost had you. Classic. It had a spoiler, which was pretty cool.
What's good about this car?
Fairly reliable, but it wasn't a nice car.
Right, but it never posed issues.
Yeah. I made a like ram intake by just cutting the airbox filter. On to the next one.
Okay, what's next?
Astra 2.
Astra
Okay. Now this was a really good car. Astra 2, Blue Astra Olympic Edition.
Can you explain the trim models to me?
So
what is the Olympic Edition?
The Olympic Edition was the special model made in the year of the Sydney Olympics. So they celebrated that by having Holden make a special Astra. I had a little badge that said like Olympic Edition. Really reliable. I ended up letting my mate Red use it as his daily driver. I sold it for $200.
$200.
Yeah.
That's nothing. You could have given it to a wreckers for more than that, right?
Well, they were a wrecker. I'm gonna put that one at C as well.
Just as good as the other one that you said had no issues.
This was a really reliable car. I hit someone. Like I hit a ute. Like I crashed into a ute and completely ruined the radiator. And it drove great. Sturdy, reliable
Equally
car.
as good.
Yeah.
Aggressively mid.
What's the next one? Ranger 1.
Oh, Ranger 1. So for reference, Ranger 1, it had a lot of modifications done to it. It was very much made to be kind of like an off-roading, camping beast. It probably belongs in A tier.
Gee, right off the bat.
Yeah, because I'm torn between A and B, but it was a flawless car. I'm gonna say A. No flaws with this car.
Does it have CarPlay?
Yes. CarPlay included.
I get it.
CarPlay included. Nothing it couldn't do, except for maybe go fast, I guess. And that,
okay, final thoughts.
Settling on A. Car could do a lot. Had a lot done to it.
I feel like I only rode in it once, so I can't comment, but
Did you have any issue when you rode it? Any thoughts?
I don't remember having thoughts. MX5. Had my eye on NB MX5s. I thought they were the best looking version. Found one on Marketplace in the green color that I wanted. Went for a drive in it with Nav. Best car ever driven.
Love it first
Immediate
sight.
S.
Immediate
S tier.
So you're telling me there was 0 negative drawbacks about this car? Not a single thing you would change? I already know there is, so...
Well, the only thing I would change, the power. But you can't This car, leagues above, I think, every other car. Perfect driving machine, perfect Sunday weekender. This car specifically, really, like, way better than any MX5. So this car had all suspension.
Would it be worth like
bushings.
tracking them down? Put them
True.
here.
Put them on screen. There.
That's the mods, I guess.
Really, yeah, set up for the track, which meant that it had a super high or super close gearing. Top speed in 6th gear was 150 kilometers an hour. Wasn't the best on the highway. Also quite loud because of the soft top. Once you're at a location, best car. It's hard to get there in this car, but it can be done.
It was fun.
Big fan of the NB. I told Sam I'll probably buy another one.
NB2 coming up.
Back to back.
The 180. My current car, for reference.
Ooh.
Nissan 180SX, 1994.
It's been on a journey, this one.
I would say it's 95% stock. With that, other than things I maybe don't know about.
I think 95 is a bit high. I think got the brakes, the suspension, the visual.
Anyway, this car, in terms of drivability, torn between putting this car in S or A. I think I enjoy driving it the most out of any car I've driven.
This is the most exciting and interesting car that you've had by far.
It's also the oldest, so 1994. It's older than me, and I think there's just a lot less electronic assists going on than what you kind of used to with more modern cars, which maybe makes it a more exciting and enjoyable drive.
I think it's also just really light, like a frame on wheels that you kind of are sitting in, whereas most cars don't feel like that.
In terms of, you know what, fuck it. And if I compare it to the MX5,
okay.
I personally would rather my 180 than your NB.
Would I rather have 2 MX5s than a 180? Hard to tell.
The 180 sits in an S. It's very light. It makes turbo sounds, which is fun. It's the car I felt the most comfortable modifying and fucking with.
I think
I
that's
also feel like it gets the most looks,
it's
which
easy.
is kind of fun.
Yeah, the attention is a big one.
Yeah, let's go next car.
All right.
S tier car.
Yeah, agreed. 323 Protege.
Ooh, okay.
Okay.
This is my partner's first car that she's ever owned. I'm gonna be real, this car sucked. Stall out and just turn off in the middle of driving it. Mid-turn, car just turns off. Means you lose power steering, you lose power. Pretty risky. I was gonna say give it a C tier rating, but after bringing up that last point,
That's way worse.
that's
than
pretty
that
dangerous.
shit.
So I'm gonna say this car probably deserves to be in a D tier.
Okay.
Okay, Vitara.
Good one. Not a grand one.
Not a grand
Vitara.
car. This might be. There's nothing special about this car. This is 2017 Vitara.
Did have CarPlay.
It did have CarPlay, no turbo. It didn't do anything wrong. I had no issues with this car at all.
Yeah, it was
I
fine.
can't think of a single thing that ever went wrong.
I enjoyed driving around it. In fact, I liked driving around in it. It was fun. As a third passenger, you're kind of in the back and you're still in it, I think. Was what I liked about it. But it's still an SUV. Yeah, good.
I'm gonna say B
car.
tier. Like, it doesn't... Ranger 2.
Ranger 2.
Ranger 2 came shortly after Ranger 1. It was significantly less modified. Main reason for this was it was cheaper.
I think it looked cooler. Like,
I guess it did look cooler
Black on
because it
black.
looked like a Ute. It had aftermarket rims, but it belongs, I think, in the B as well.
RX8. Oh, gee, here we go.
This might be a bit of a talk. RX8 has a long story. Not really.
The original sports car.
It has a short story. It says, yeah, RX8 was my first sports car. I wish I knew then what I now know. 2 weeks after buying it, I needed to get the engine rebuilt. No! I didn't know anything. My car before that was a Camry, which was my first car. I didn't know what the fuck. So I was just freaking out. Turned out I needed an engine rebuild, which cost me as much as the car cost me. However, after that engine rebuild, in terms of just driving the car, it wasn't the fastest. RX8 is not a crazy powerful car, but it is light. It handled crazy good. It revved super high. It sounded nice. I personally, it's not for everyone. I think it looked really cool. Still do think it looks cool. I miss it. I just wish that I had the money and knowledge that I now have.
I think this, especially the like rear 3/4 view, is good.
Perfect. It does a little lackluster from like the front. Anyway, I would love to put this car in S tier, but because of just the extra care that's needed for the rotary engine did make it a little bit of a hassle. I would happily own one again. In fact, I'm constantly
It'd be a very fun car to own.
now that we're a little bit smarter.
And we might. RX8 too.
For now, I'm gonna put it in A tier. I want to put it in S tier, but it definitely was a hassle to deal with. But...
yeah, good fun car. Doors. Don't do this.
It was.
Can't say that.
Under live doors.
Alright, 350Z number 1. Let's go. This is a good random list. It's quite like a roller coaster.
I never drove 350Z1.
What a shame.
I didn't know how at the time, despite you encouraging. I don't know if you remember this. I don't know if you recall this. You were very drunk. And you were encouraging me to drive your car home. Despite me. I was a little tipsy. Yeah, you can just take it like by yourself. Like just go drive home. You're all good. And I wanted to. I thought better of it. That would have been fun.
That would have been really fun. So this... back
in
in that
point of your life.
Back in that time, I didn't appreciate this car for what it was because I was drinking and partying a lot. So I never really felt like this car as good as it should be.
You couldn't give it the attention it deserved.
Yeah, but this car was sick. First sports car. Before this, I had the blue Astra. This car, when I bought this was back in 2018. So they were cheap. I couldn't believe it. I was like, I drove this car in Need for Speed Underground 2. Like, how?
Actually, shit. We
Tokyo
haven't even
Drift.
factored this in yet.
Yeah.
That's if I can go back to the 180 for a brief moment.
Of course.
One of the starting cars in Underground 2.
We need Z tier.
That car definitely spoke to my childhood, which I imagine is similar.
Yeah.
Or speaks to my childhood, similar to how the Z does for you.
I think I definitely overpaid for this. Newer than the next one, and then it had only 180 Ks, which at the time I was like, oh my god, I've never had a car.
So many Ks.
Get into.
Actually, how much did the MX5 have?
325,000 kilometers.
And that's an S tier car, by the way.
Kilometers mean less to me now. Bought this car, and I just thought it was the coolest thing ever. Manual, obviously, black. I didn't realize this at the time because I didn't know as much as I thought I did. It was lowered, had side skirts, front lip, 19-inch lame wheels, but like
tires?
Really. It had a DVD player in it, so messed that up. And then the diff bushings were definitely gone in it because it had a very familiar clunk. Now they know that. Fixing that would have made that car even better. But yeah, really good car. I think the radiator broke on it and we replaced that. Alex actually replaced that as well. Common factor.
I remember you running around with running the heater all the time because the car would overheat if you weren't.
It was probably just air in the system. I don't know. I was really bad with cars back then.
Just green.
Yeah, really green. I thrashed this car. Like, cold starts from Cars and Coffee to a slide, which is really fun. Sold it for $8,000 in early 2020, and then they went up. Boy, did they go up. Yeah, good car. I think it's an A. This was a really nice 350Z. 350Z1, A tier car, really good. Wish I had it back. I think it's been wrecked because I used to just look on the Regio app to see if it'd been registered. It stopped being registered. RIP. But if it's out there, comment.
Please, I'm begging you.
I used to have dreams about finding it. Next car.
But you would rather have the MX5.
I think the MX5 is a better car. I would rather have it.
Right. Okay, so a little bit of objectivity coming in.
Yeah. 370Z.
370. Okay, this is my Z this time. The 370? I feel like my cars are pretty biased. The 370 was good. Maybe not a crazy car to most, but to me, this was the fastest car that I've owned.
Definitely.
It's
Still
faster.
is.
Yeah, it's faster than my 180. By a lot. It's faster than my RX8 for sure. In fact, fastest car on this list, dare I say.
That's debatable.
There was nothing wrong with this car. It had coilovers, wheels, cold air intakes,
Muffler delete.
muffler delete. I liked how it sounded. I know the trumpet's not for everybody.
It was cold.
Cold start in the garage. Just hit different. Nice. Getting up nice and early, 6 a.m. to head to work. I'm sure the neighbors loved me. Car was fast.
Really nice condition too. Like
Great condition.
impeccable. Quite to onlookers, quite the insane move to sell.
To sell, yeah.
180.
Insert picture of what I sold versus picture of what I bought when I bought it. Pretty yikes move. I'm gonna give this car an A tier here. Oh shit. Josh and I put some underglow on it. The car was absolutely slammed on the coilovers, so it looked like something straight out of Need for Speed or Fast and Furious. It was a cool car. It was a fast car.
They're good cars. This is probably the best, one of the best examples of it. Well, probably not anymore. Wish you well, Lucas.
The only reason I don't give it S is because even though the 180SX is more rough around the edges, I get something out of it that the 370 didn't quite get.
Yeah, it's an A class. Camry.
Camry. This is my first car. It's been a while.
Sportiva.
Sportiva, but still only a 4-banger. This car had no issues in my ownership. Supposedly had issues shortly after me selling it, but I didn't know. This was automatic. Yeah, I didn't really know how to drive a manual when I had this car. There were no issues, as I said. Got me to point A, or from point A to point B.
Aircon.
Hell yeah. Comfort, that's for sure. A comfortable car. I didn't care too much about cars when I had it. I didn't care too much about this car when I don't think I ever had it serviced. It's a C tier car. It's hard putting it in C tier because I'm comparing it with the other stuff in C tier. It's definitely not as good a car as the Vitara or the Ranger.
Right.
Ranger 2 specifically. It's definitely better than these other It's definitely better than these other two. So I don't know, it's like a high C.
Yeah, I'd say that. I mean, the other two don't have aircon. I had a lot of fun in those Astras.
And maybe I would have had more fun in the Camry if it was manual, and I could drive a manual at the time. I'm happy with a C, so I'm quite happy with that.
All right, E46, most recent car, current daily. E46 330 coupe manual, of course. Quite the car. I sold 2 cars prior to buying this, and it was kind of what I see as the combination of everything that's come before it. It's quite slow, it's comfortable like the Volvo. It does everything really well, and I really enjoy it, and obviously Need for Speed Most Wanted.
Let's be real. That's the reason
That's the
you have
reason.
this car.
But I own the closest thing you can get for $9,000. So, yeah. It also is a manual 330 46 coupe. Really well looked after. It has 368,000 kilometers.
It also has the M spec trim.
Yeah, M3 looks
It's
like
not discount there.
it looks like an M3 apart from a few, if you know things. Really good car.
I don't want to hurt your feelings.
I'm pretty sure Most Wanted your favorite Need for Speed.
It definitely is. Most Wanted. I love Underground 2.
Me too. I think I like it more than you.
You know, like yeah, I think you do.
This is great, but I like this.
Yeah, this is great, but I like this. Most
But
Wanted
I
is
like
so much
this.
better than Underground 2 got the aesthetic right. You know what? Maybe this is a whole nother video. Tier list Need for Speed games. It doesn't feel fast. It doesn't feel sporty. It's nice to look at.
It's really good to drive. Like, it's a good point. I think it's more fun to drive, even if it's not as quick. It's really comfortable, so you can focus on driving. It's a weird thing.
Okay. I'm not gonna yuck your yum.
By all means, yuck.
If I was to yuck your yum, which I wouldn't.
Alright.
It's a B tier car because
I would rather have that than 2 RX8s.
That is insane.
A minus. We'll call it that. 300ZX.
Okay.
Okay.
This one has minimal seat time.
Did you drive this?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So I briefly owned a 300ZX. Bought to flip. Thought I wouldn't be able to sell it. Thought I might have to keep it.
Prince bought it unpainted, bare metal.
Oh,
Yeah.
God.
Or maybe, was it primed?
It was painted just really badly.
That was paint.
Like it was like old. And I think maybe they like sanded some areas, but it was a silver car.
We sanded all of that silver away.
Yeah.
Well, you.
Yeah.
I didn't sand.
Yeah. So it looked really bad when I bought it. I bought it for $5,000. It ran. It was an NA, but it was a manual, so cancels each other out. I thought, cool, 90s car, easily able to sell this for $8,000, if not more.
80s car even, right? 89?
89. Only 160,000 Ks, so
Supposedly.
pretty good. I really like Zeds, so this was a bit of an emotional purchase, but also I thought like it would be a very smart purchase. So Nav and I painted it. It was raining the first time we painted it, impatient, so kind of just pushed ahead, and it looked terrible, so I couldn't sell it. I was kind of coping with the idea of just owning this car, and I really liked it. Really fun to drive, like Target, yeah. T-top, like convertible, like really nice vibe. Everything the MX5 wasn't. You could take it on the highway. Car was really, well, it was really hot because it didn't have aircon. It leaked fuel, so you got a lot of fuel in the cabin, which is really bad for you.
Hot tip, in case you don't know.
Yeah. But it was probably the nicest shifter feel in a car I've had, which is really weird because this car should have like felt awful. And it sat for like 5 years before I bought it. So I don't know why, but it was just a really nice transmission.
Like, it looked like a restoration project
Yeah,
when
it was
we
given
picked it up.
on. Yeah.
Yeah.
I really like them. I think the 300ZX is a really unfortunate car because it just looks a bit off.
Yeah, it's close to being really cool. It looks
Yeah.
straight out of Blade Runner
Yeah.
from the back.
Yes.
From the front.
That's a rear 3/4 car.
That one in particular. Remember, we were rating that one, not all 300ZX.
I'd rather have that than two Astras. I think
I was torn between whether it should be a C or a D. Only reason was because
it was really...
you put throttle down at all, and it was just sliding all over the place.
Yeah, well, I think once I got those new tires, that fixed that, but it also was really unstable at high speeds. Once we fixed the second paint job, it was pretty good. Like, apart from the fuel thing, which I thought I fixed.
We did do good on the paint.
Yeah, like...
If you need painting.
Yeah, I'm fine with it being there, because I-30, 1.8D.
I-30 is my partner's current car. Yeah, diesel. There's nothing wrong with it, except that the air pressure sensor for the tires is like broken. Super torquey, which is kind of fun. The brakes are weird. I don't really know too much about these cars, but I think there's maybe some electronic assist on the brakes that like smoothens your brake compression as well as the release. Feels a little strange, and I just don't like it. Maybe 2019? I'm not sure. Maybe even newer. Maybe like 2020. I'm not sure. It's got CarPlay, which is cool, but the brake thing is weird. Other than that, it's just a car. I'm gonna put it in the B tier. I think that's where it belongs.
CarPlay is a bonus, like...
It's not. I wish I had CarPlay.
The MX5 had CarPlay.
Don't get in the S tier for free. I'm gonna say B. I think that's where it sits. It's a middle. It's a car.
Next, 350. Okay, here we go.
We both spent a lot of time on this.
This car is... I don't even know where to begin. So,
Alright, let's go.
this car I bought because I realized that I was really into cars, especially 350Zs.
This happened shortly after me getting the 370. Right?
Yeah, and I was like, man, like, what have I done? I was like, I need to get back in the game. This was peak prices, so I was looking around
COVID times?
17 grand. Between 17 and 15 cars were listed for. This car had 220,000 when I bought it. It ran fine, and it was an emotional purchase. As soon as I test drove it, I just was like, oh, I'm gonna buy it. Like, it smells like the old one, it handles like the old one.
Why am I even test driving?
Yeah.
I know I'm gonna buy it.
It was really, really cool. It had a, what did it have?
Doing? What are you doing?
So it had coilovers, exhaust, headers, intake, cams. At the time, didn't have wheels. We put them on later. It kind of ruined it. Had a really, really bassy sound system, which I thought was really fun. This car also had a DVD player. Yeah.
For a short time.
Yeah. Didn't have CarPlay. We painted the whole thing. I thought it was a really cool looking car. It was so low.
We slammed it, and we also put these side skirts on it that were like extra low. So the car, it looked cool, but not drivable. It didn't look feasible in any environment.
No, and it
But
wasn't.
it was kind of funny.
Yeah, it was good. We did a lot with it. I took this is the car that I took to the track and stuff. You know that scene in Too Fast, Too Furious? It's funny how a lot of things relate to the Fast and Furious. Started understanding cars and working on them, but also driving them.
Yeah, I think that period where I had the 370 and you had the 352 was definitely a big learning point for both of us.
Yeah.
Because we both had cars that we wanted to simultaneously work on. Yeah, I think we started learning a lot.
Yeah, I think that's like where we hung out the most in 2022. Probably just like working on cars.
Which is interesting because we didn't work together and we still lived equally as far away. Very interesting.
Yeah, so very emotional car, but being an objective tier list, I would say it wasn't as good as the first 350Z. It was more expensive, had more Ks.
Handled worse.
Yeah.
Equally slammed.
Yeah. So, I like this car more, but it was a worse car. Yeah.
Alright.
RAV4. Alright. So,
This is before my time.
bit of a wild card, this one, but I drove this car a lot in North Queensland, where I'm from, while which we haven't even gotten to yet, but my first Astra wasn't in the picture. So this car is fine. It's a automatic RAV4 from that era. So not super fun to drive, but I did drive it like a manual because it's got like 1, 2, 3.
1-2D.
Yeah. It had a top speed of probably like 130. Like it wasn't super quick.
You got to top speeds in this thing.
It had aircon, but it always felt really hot. Like, I don't know.
Did it have fans but no aircon?
No. It had full aircon. Like, it was cold, but it just, like, it was all... I picture this car as being really hot. And that might be a North Queensland thing, but it also, like, just was hot. Like, I would sweat while driving. I initially thought this was maybe a D-tier car. I think it just had the unfortunate
Experience.
of being in North Queensland.
Mm-hmm.
I think down here would be a bit more fun, so I'm gonna give it a C. Yeah, fun. We were gonna get this car, drive it from Cardwell to Brisbane, which would be an awful trip, but yeah, it still exists at Mum's house. So Yaris, all right. Toyota Yaris, 2011, I think. My partner's car. I like this car. It's a really good car in some ways. Doing what it does around town. It's a manual, so it's a little bit fun. A little bit rev it out a little bit. Spin the wheels sometimes. Looks a bit rough from the outside. It's got a few dents. It is reliable, even if it feels like it's gonna break. Got a little clutch issue, but Toyota, so we just don't worry about that.
Anything to complain about?
The aircon barely works. So it's not a good summer car, but it's a fine summer car.
It's a car.
It's a car. Yeah, fun little car. I'd like to buy it off Sam when she sells it and turn it into a track car because super light and we could get that thing down. What's the next? Astra 1.
Final car.
All right.
20. That's how long this list is?
Apparently. What are these?
What are all these extra pictures?
Astra 1. Okay. So Astra 1, which stock photo, the best of all the Astras. I think lowest Ks. This was my first car given to me by my mum. It was a great car to learn and really easy to drive, manual, but sedan, had ample room. You could fit anything in it, good on fuel. quite peppy. I remember doing some shit like in this car that how I'm still alive. Like,
Interesting.
but there was like a wire fence that caught onto like the radiator. So when I reversed, it just like pulled out the radiator, totaled the car. I drove it for a little bit after that, but, but it was
Only gonna last so long.
unfortunate, but kind of set off a trend of Astras in my life. Really good car. Definitely a B. Didn't have aircon or CarPlay though, but it was a really nice Astra. Based on the Volvo, aircon is not a requirement of the B tier.
And I mean, there's cars in the C tier that did have aircon.
Wrangler, TJ Wrangler, I had. Really
Pretty cool.
Really difficult car to place because it's so different from everything else that I've had. But a rugged 2-door 4-wheel drive that we only really took full driving. Well, we took full driving once. I did it a couple times. Outside of that, it was cheap. I think we paid like $8,000 for it with a roadworthy. Not that it was necessarily, but it was. We drove it home. Really fun car. Convertible. Like, kind of led me to get the MX5 because I was like, convertibles are cool.
Mm-hmm.
No aircon, so really hot. But if you had the top down, it didn't matter. Speakers were really bad, which was a shame. Good speakers in an old Jeep would be like really fun. Just cruising down the highway. Maybe not the highway, but
If this was my only car, I don't know how much fun I'd be having.
it was fun to have because big 4-liter, straight sticks, had an exhaust, so it was really loud, manual. It's definitely an A for me.
Really?
Yeah, I think it's
Looking at the other A tier cars
like going anywhere in that car.
was an enjoyable experience.
The amount of people that wave at you because they're like, you must be having fun.
Look, I'll accept it. It's just a little surprising, I guess. That's all. Get this car.
I would put Astra 3 in the D tier, I think, if I had to. Like, it's funny to me, all of the things that happen to it,
Mm-hmm.
and I value comedy.
Okay.
But I think as a car,
Are we done here?
yeah. Alright. Like, subscribe, comment, share it to everyone. 1 million views in one day. That's the goal.